movie traumatized you when you were a child?
Story 1. That tunnel scene in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. We had wanted to watch Jurassic Park. Anne said no, it's too scary. I've seen both films. That tunnel scene is far scarier than anything in Jurassic Park. Story 2. The Exorcist. I saw it in 4th grade. A few years later I fell asleep watching the History Channel. At like 2 a.m. a documentary on the filming of The Exorcist came on. I had a dream about the movie cause of it. In the dream I was in the room with her strapped to the bed. When I woke up I looked at the TV and saw her face and it scared the absolute out of me. Story 3. The movies The Fly 1958 and The Incredible Shrinking Man 1957. The spider scenes in both of those movies scared me so much as a kid that I ran out of the TV room screaming and crying. Story for The Day After Tomorrow. It me up so bad and I didn't want to explain why, so I watched the entire thing on family movie night. It traumatized me because it made me think about what I'll have to do as an adult when I'm in a life-threatening situation and my loved ones are trapped in a different area. It me up. I never want to talk about it, see it, or think about it again. Story 5. The Plague Dogs and Watership Down animated movies both traumatized me equally, and oddly enough are based on books written by Richard Adams. Still not over it, but Plague Dogs turned me into an animal welfare advocate at 7 years old and am still going strong with it to this day. Story 6. Wizard of Oz. That scene with the crystal ball and Auntie Em and the Wicked Witch sent me running behind the couch. Of course, guess who showed up on Sesame Street? Story 7. There was this movie where a family has an adopted nice child and an evil bio child. At some point there's a scene where both kids are dangling from a cliff and the father can only save one. He saves the adopted child. I don't remember much about this movie, but I thought about it a lot at a very young age. I don't know why really. I don't have siblings, but I guess it was kind of a trolley problem scenario that blew my little mind. Story 8. Jaws. That head popping out when Hooper was checking the boat hull. I was only 7. Gave me nightmares for weeks. I wouldn't stretch my legs out in bed because I kept imagining that my feet would touch the head under the covers at the end of my bed. Story 9. 5 years old and my mom put on American Werewolf in London. Was alright until the mutant nightmare scene where they raided the house. Was scared shitless for years. The monster's face still gets to me. Honestly, they did a great job with effects and make-up costumes for 1981. Story 10. Close Encounters. The part when the kid gets abducted, the whole movie, really, something about those aliens at the end really freaked me out, even if they were supposed to be friendly. Story 11. The Toy Story franchise. To this day, I refuse to watch the movies because it instilled in me the belief that toys and objects have feelings, and I feel so sad when Jessie gets left on the curb. I'm literally tearing up just thinking about it. I hate Toy Story. Story 12. Accidentally caught part of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie on TV when I was a toddler. Freddy Krueger was the epitome of terror for me for years after that. Story 13. Definitely Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I remember watching it because the FSK was 6 years old. I stopped watching it when the monsters started eating eyeballs. Still traumatizes me to this day. Story 14. Alien. My dad took me to a little country theater, think dark, barn-like and gloomy, when I was 10 or 11. We never really went to the movies, so I was excited. Driving back home through the woods, I was sure we were goners. For some reason I also very much like Sigourney Weaver. Story 15. I'm probably older than everybody, but Hitchcock's The Birds terrified me. I still wonder what they're up to when I see a murder of crows in my front yard. Story 16. The Original Invaders from Mars. I saw it on a hot Ontario summer afternoon when I was 4 on a 14 black and white TV in the mid-60s. It scared the absolute out of me, but also introduced me to the genre of film, TV, and books that I've most enjoyed in my life. Story 17. Poltergeist and Salem's Lot. I just knew there was a vampire living in our guest room closet. My mom would keep our dress-up clothes and shoes in that closet. She would tell me to go get something out of it, and it was a hard and defiant no every time. Story 18. Watership Down. My mom found it on video and saw cute rabbits and thought it'd be a good movie to throw on to keep us kids busy while she talked to her sisters. They came back into the room to find me and all my cousins traumatized with tears in our eyes. Story 19. My stepdad showed me Reservoir Dogs when I was like 13. I couldn't believe Mr. Blonde cut off that cop's ear and then talks to it. What a sick, I thought. Story 20. Bridge to Terabithia. Especially since I was 100, the 12-year-old that would go spend time in the woods and explore some areas that some would definitely consider dangerous, but I just never thought of it that way. Story 21. Sleeping Beauty. Seeing Maleficent turn into a dragon scared the out of me. I became convinced that witches were real and were going to kidnap me and lock me away. It was a nightmare that plagued me for years. Story 22. Titanic. When he's trapped and the ship is filling with water AI. When they abandoned the robot boy in the woods E.T. When they find him in the river all white and sickly signs. The home video footage of the alien walking by from the kid's birthday party. Story 23. Animals of Farthing. It's a TV series, but somehow I remember it as a movie. Most traumatizing kids show ever. Even for an adult it's exceedingly morbid. Pet Sematary. Story 24. The Elephant Man. And only saw the preview while excited to watch Star Wars in the theater. Whoever thought The Elephant Man would be great to a theater of kids? Story 25. Bambi. When his mother was shot and killed by hunters. At some point he was running terrified through a forest fire. I had nightmares for months. I was only 6 years old. Story 26. How has no one said the land before time yet? Between the earthquake, the T-Rex, and the mother brontosaurus dying a tragic death, That movie had me messed up. Story 27 Monster House is the earliest one I can remember having a profound effect on me, but Coraline is the one that still creeps me out a bit now. That film is not a kid's movie, you won't convince me otherwise. Story 28 Outbreak. I saw it when I was like 9 or 10 and was left absolutely terrified. The scene that scared me the most is near the beginning where they visit a village in Zaire. One of them enters a hut and there's a baby boy crying over the bodies of his parents. Story 29 The Shining bathtub scene. I didn't even know why I was so terrified of bathtubs until it was put on again, and that scene started. It was like a brain blast. I know that bathroom, it has haunted me for years. Story 30 E.T. Scared the absolute out of me. You can't tell me that dude didn't step out of a horror movie. There is nothing cute and cuddly about his design. The leathery skin, the non-existent legs, the long skeletal arms, the telescoping neck, his freaking glowing heart, made all the worse when he gets sick and he's all moaning and corpseified. Story 31 Faces of Death. I only watched 2 scenes before having to turn it off. I guess cause it was supposedly real deaths. I know now they say a lot of it was fake. Not sure how much, but as a young kid it terrified me. Story 32 The Dark Crystal. When the Skeksis dies and turned into dust up 4-year-old me, I literally couldn't rewatch it until I was like 32 because it traumatized me that bad. Story 33 The People Under the Stairs and a movie about a DR who murdered his patients and hid them in walls. Not sure why I was watching any of these at 5 years old. Story 34 The commercials for Nightmare on Elm Street and Hellraiser. I didn't actually see either movie until I was in my 30s. I can't believe I was so convinced they were scary movies. Story 35 1. The Princess Bride 2, The Neverending Story 3, The Little Princess 4, The Brave Little Toaster 5, My Girl 6, The Witches 7, Pinocchio 8, Watership Down. Not a movie, but are you afraid of the dark? Yes, yes I am. Story 36 Final Destination. The tree hauler on the highway scene. Up to this day that scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit where the guy gets melted in the dip freaked me out so bad. Story 37 Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1978. That final scene with Donald Sutherland was burned into my mind for years. Slept under the covers for a long time. Oh, shout out to the human face dog too. Story 38 The Blob. Thing could get you through your AC vents. I was scarred my entire childhood. Can't rewatch because I know it's gonna be so campy. And I prefer the manic dread in my head. The 1980s film The Thing. My dad made me watch it and I had nightmares for months after it. Story 39 The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Snuck into the living room when I was 6 or so and watched it from behind the couch and had recurring nightmares for years. But I taught myself to lucid dream during that time before I knew it was lucid dreaming. Story 40 My aunt brought me and my cousin, both 8 at the time, to see The Sixth Sense. I'm not sure what she was thinking or if she even realized what we were going to see. It's one of my earliest, clearest memories and we ended up running out and into the theater that was playing Stuart Little. I wasn't able to watch The Sixth Sense again until I was far into my 20s. Story 41 Jaws. To this day I don't like being in water where I can't see around me. When I was a kid I didn't like entering a deep, muddy puddle in my Wellingtons because I couldn't see beneath the surface. Final Destination. Was terrified of theme parks and stupid. I still do the whole what if X happens and usually avoid it, or go around it. Story 42 The Wiz. It was terrifying. Birds, flowers, motorcycles, roller coasters, toilets and trash cans. All deadly. But Diana Ross and Michael Jackson kicked. Story 43 All Dogs Go to Heaven. The Land Before Time Fox the Hound, The Neverending Story, The Brave Little Toaster Who Walked So Wally Could Fly Old Yeller Homeward Bound and Milo Otis had me at peak anxiety. I was still relatively young when I saw Titanic in theaters and it absolutely destroyed me. And for some reason, Fantasia my parents did not shelter us by a long shot and at an inappropriately young age I saw a lot murder sure nudity not asked. But for TV it was Outer Limits and X-Files. Story 44 Harry Potter 1. At the end when Voldemort came out from the back of the teacher's face and screamed that freaked me out and gave me countless nightmares. Story 45 River's Edge. I was 9 years young, and it haunted my little mind for weeks that summer. Honorable mention. The Who's Tommy the Musical, the part with Margaret rolling around in baked beans with her son Tommy. Wrong all wrong not good, extra credit, out of the blue. Dennis Hopper directed this my mother said. I said yeah my braces hurt let's go woman. I really don't understand why that movie has 95 on Rotten Tomatoes. Story 46 I came across this movie already in progress on late night TV, so I don't even know the name. In it, there was an earthquake that released these super smart roaches from underground. These roaches would run around and spell out words with their bodies on the walls to threaten people. How they learned to spell English was not made clear and could start fires by sparking their legs together, like flint and steel. I was just a tween at the time and was so disturbed by this movie that after it was over I stayed up until 3 a.m. reading Alice in Wonderland to ensure I wouldn't have nightmares about it.